Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me once again on the channel. Today is Situation Report Day. For those of you who are new, and I got a lot of new folks been showing up, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe at the bottom of the video. If you're new to the Situation Report, this is a weekly report that is a compilation of corporate, state, and government releases, as well as private open media. The compilation reports I get are part of my job, so some of them I cannot discuss, but there are some that I can. For the most part, you can. And most of them have a reference. So I will go alphabetically by region of the Earth, starting with Africa, and then go around the planet. And then in each region, I will go in alphabetical order at the same time, within that region. So country A down to Z. If and when it is appropriate or I actually have it, I will give you what the source was. So I'll give you, BBC said this, the State Department said that, etc. And you guys can kind of, make your own assessments, do your own research. So with no further ado, I'm going to start with the most recent report, which landed on my desk. So starting with Africa, Congo ex-president Kabila makes first public appearance in rebel-held Goma. This is from Reuters. Former Congolese President Joseph Kabila appeared for the first time in public in rebel-held territory in the country's volatile east on Thursday, meeting with religious leaders in what participants said was a push for peace. Congo has had some serious issues, and Congo is also a place where some precious metals, mining, rare earth metals, as well as the precious metals, the golds, the diamonds, silver is available there. Congo's been fighting itself, basically engaged in civil unrest now for the better part of months that I've been tracking it since I started doing the situation reports again. These things are relevant because very often there's a larger player that has something to gain from that kind of instability inside a small country. So could it be the Belgians? Could it be the Russians? Who the hell knows? But also this does cause migration issues. So if a country really goes to garbage, much like we saw in the Middle East, masses of people will go somewhere else. And it becomes someone else's problem as well. So important stuff to follow. That's why we follow this. Nigeria, torrential rain kills 25 in southern Nigeria, rescue efforts ongoing. This is from Africa News. Torrential rains have killed at least 25 people in Nigeria's oil-producing river state, according to emergency officials. The intense downpour hit the city of Okrika in southern Nigeria, causing floods and landslides that buried homes and swept away people. From what I've seen, it looked a lot like what happened in North Carolina. They had this weird storm, and it just took the topsoil away, and boom, everything came down the hill. And they don't have the infrastructure. I mean, let's face it, we're still digging people and houses out in North Carolina. But for Nigeria, it's even worse because they just have no support at all. Sudan, this one's interesting. Sudan reports 70 cholera deaths in Khartoum in 2 days. And this is from Al Jazeera. A cholera outbreak in Sudan's Khartoum has killed at least 70 people in 2 days, local health authorities said. Typically, when you get a cholera outbreak, it is from lack of sanitation or improper sanitation. Probably a topic we don't talk enough about in our communities. But when Haiti first started going downhill, the NATO troops that were sent, some of them were from, what was it? Somewhere in, I think, not Cambodia. I can't remember what country they were from, but they did not follow hygiene protocols, even though they were taught. In order to be part of a UN force, you have to be taught this stuff. And they actually were directing their wastewater, their sewage, into the drinking water sources. And they created a wicked cholera outbreak that not only made a bunch of the soldiers sick, it decimated a whole section of Haiti. So this is the kind of article that we learn from. You're like, wow, that's significant. 70 people in just a couple of days' time. Cholera will only take a couple of days to really start messing with your intestines and causing the diarrhea, the throwing up, the dehydration in a hot environment. You can go downhill quick. It can be very fast. So just another lesson, something you may want to think about is if you don't have a septic system, you're in city, or if you're out in the country, whatever the case may be, what is your hygiene plan? Just keep that in mind. Okay, moving on. East Asia and Pacific, Indonesia, rock collapse at Indonesia quarry kills at least 10 people. This is from Reuters. This would be the third mining incident I've heard of in a smaller country that was not being monitored. It's kind of like black market mining. And at least 10 people were killed in Indonesia's West Java and 6 injured on Friday following a rock collapse at a quarry. Search efforts ongoing to find people buried underneath the rubble. Moving to South Korea, early voting turnout hits 34.74% ahead of the presidential election. This is from Yonhap News. More than 15 million voters have cast their ballots in the early voting for the presidential election, according to the National Election Commission on Friday, with attention now turning to how the near-record turnout would affect the formal voting process. So, right now, we actually have a left-leaning president and the pro-American president running in South Korea. The previous president was indicted because he declared martial law because he swore that the other party was actually pro-China and were trying to overthrow the government. That didn't stick in the courts, but it's concerning because South Korea is a very important ally, and more importantly, South Korea has a boatload of our military personnel in their country. So we'll keep an eye on that. Moving on to Europe. Kosovo businesses block roads over power price hike. This is from Reuters. Hundreds of business owners blocked roads in Kosovo's capital, Pristina, on Thursday to protest a regulatory mandate, forcing them to buy power from the open market. They say could triple their electric bills. That is another thing you think about in an emergency, is even if you do have power, the cost will go up, if not at the time, after. Now, there are laws in the US, Canada, and Europe regarding price gouging, but when you give a monopoly to an entity and the government gives a monopoly to one power provider, there need to be limits on what they can charge, what their profitability is, kind of basically make it a blue chip stock. If you let them charge whatever, they have a monopoly, they're just going to maximize profit. So clearly these guys are not happy. Russia, Ukraine, no sign Russia is moving to restart Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, UN nuclear agency says. This is from Euronews. The plant has been held by Russia since the early days of the war following Moscow's full-scale invasion in February of 22, but it is not producing power. I think Russia took it because they wanted to keep it out of the Ukrainians' hands. Aside from being a bargaining chip, you don't want to bomb the area because you don't want to accidentally hit the reactor, but also to keep uranium away from Ukraine. So think about that. In any case, moving on, that's from Euronews. There you go. Okay, United Kingdom. Britain is wide open to Russian undersea sabotage, according to Politico. Critical gas pipelines, power lines, and data cables are the soft belly of British security. Ministers have been warned by specialists. That is something we talk about a lot here in the US and Canada. If you don't believe me, or even Mexico, just take a drive. Take a drive between cities, and you will see the solar fields, the wind farms, the oil and gas, drilling rigs, pump jacks, and the power transmission lines all up and down in the open, most of which is not secured except maybe a small barbed wire fence and a camera, if they even have a camera. The fact that the UK is just now realizing this or really bringing it up is a bit concerning. I'm sure it's been brought up before, but with a mass migration that is unvetted, and again, people get angry at me for bringing that up. It's not that immigration is bad. The United States in particular is created from immigrants coming from everywhere. But at some point you have to stop somewhere and sign in and do certain things. And it kind of went away in the last administration. We didn't see it before that in both Democratic and Republican presidencies, although some were more loose with immigration than others. You didn't have this like uncontrolled flood. And so who's to say you don't have bad players? Keep in mind, if you have 5 million people come in, and I know that's a very low number because we all know it's much more, but if it's 5 million people, 10% of 5 million, there's your 500,000. 10% of that is 50,000. So 1% of 5 million is 50,000 people. That's a boatload of people. That is a lot of human beings. And you can keep doing that, moving the decimal point, 0.1%. 9/11 was executed with 20 something, 30 people total, 12 in the air, 13 in the air, and then the rest were on the ground providing apartments and money and cars. Under 30 people executed 9/11. Yeah, there were people overseas who provided funding and training, but boots on the ground, it was 30 people. What could 5,000 do to America or Canada or the UK? And these are things our local and state governments are being stuck with because up until recently, the federal government did nothing. It is important for you to know your neighborhood. Sorry to go off on this rabbit trail, but this keeps coming up. You look at what happened in Israel. You look at what the UK is talking about now, Mumbai and India. These attacks were done, small groups basically run amok. They're not going to sit in one place and pick a fight because they'll lose. They're going to be mobile. And think about it. You take the main transmission lines out of, Springfield, Missouri, or Dayton, Ohio. You put the whole city in the dark. You don't have to blow up all the power plants. Blow up the transmission lines, and that's easier. Nobody's looking at them. So again, these are the kind of articles that I like seeing because it gives me some insight, and I'm going to dig into this one a little more. Moving on now, Middle East and North Africa, Israel and Yemen. Israel says it intercepted missile from Yemen after air raid warning. This is from Arab News. The Israeli army said it intercepted a missile launch from Yemen on Thursday after air raid sirens sounded in the center of the country. Explosions were heard over Jerusalem. So that's an ongoing situation. Syria, Daesh groups claim first attack on Syrian government forces since Assad's fall. Also the Arab News. Daesh, which is an affiliate of ISIS or ISIL, the Daesh group has claimed responsibility for 2 attacks in southern Syria, including one on government forces that an opposition war monitor described as the first on the Syrian army to be adopted by the extremists since the fall of Bashar Assad. Syria is going to continue to have issues until the new government stabilizes the nation. Unfortunately, the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, the Americans, we all funded different militant groups, and now they're all fighting in the background. So this is going to be an ongoing thing for the Middle East. So if you have to travel to that part of the world, definitely do your homework before you get there. Moving on, South and Central Asia, Pakistan, Karachites continue to face sweltering weather. That's from the news agency Dawn, D-A-W-N. Folks in Karachi experienced another day of intense heat as the temperature soared to 39 Celsius on Thursday. So that's just around 100 Fahrenheit. That is definitely hot, especially in the mountains where it's very dry. So, and again, if you're traveling, check the weather, not just the day you arrive, but the week you arrive. So at least you kind of know how to pack and what to be wearing when you get off your airplane. So just a pro tip there. Western Hemisphere. So Argentina arrests 12 suspects linked to Tren de Aragua. Argentina's security minister said on Thursday that 12 suspects of TDA were arrested for criminal acts and were linked to the Tren de Aragua gang, and a group that their country now classifies as a terror organization as well. So Argentina's calling them a terrorist organization, which releases and allows collaboration from the military, not just law enforcement, to deal with them. So smart play if Argentina wants to get rid of them. Next article is in Guyana, which is in South America. A wealthy businessman challenging Guyana's president in an upcoming election faces new allegations. A wealthy businessman in Guyana who was sanctioned last year by the U.S. and who plans to challenge the South American country's president is facing new accusations. He's got some bribery and woman things he's been accused of, or abusing women. I don't know if they're trying to give him a bad reputation, ruin his perception, or the people's perception of him before he actually runs, or before they get to election day. But in any case, same thing every other country has. Honduras, new narco video scandal spotlights selective justice in the Honduran system. This is from Insight Crime. Authorities in Honduras are prosecuting a former general for taking bribes from drug traffickers, using similar video evidence that implicated a relative of the sitting president who was never charged. The narco groups, the cartels, have so much money. Keep in mind that the money cartels make is almost on the magnitude of what airlines make, of what oil and gas companies make. It is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry, and much like every other business, even though this is an illegal business, they pay off politicians and cops. So it is one of those things. Okay, moving on to Mexico. Mexico and the United States decimate Los Chapitos. This is from the news El País. After the death of El Perez, head of security, the government has captured hitman leader Moises Barnabé, delivering a new blow to the dwindling faction of the Sinaloa cartel. The Sinaloa cartel has split, and they're having their own civil war. So now you have the Jalisco, the Juarez, and the Federales are all fighting, the two factions of the Sinaloa who are fighting with each other. I don't know all the details, but it's been pretty nasty. And the U.S. declaring these organizations as terror groups unlocks a lot of other options for the Americans to deal with the cartels. So they're under pressure, not only from their own civil war, so to say, and from all the other cartels, but from the U.S. government coming in and doing mischief. So, and lastly, Mexico, bodies of 5 missing musicians of Mexican regional music band are found near Texas border. The bodies of 5 musician members of the Mexican regional musical group who had gone missing were found in the northern city of Reynosa along the Texas border, which is sad because it's sad because the Reynosa is a place I used to go years ago. You could go over with a driver's license and you could basically go have a nice dinner, buy some tequila, and come home. And now you can't. Now you might get kidnapped. So in any case, folks, that wraps up this week's situation report. While we're at it, let me do one thing real quick here. And so as you can see over here on the, well, I guess y'all's left, my right, flight radar, there are no major delays anywhere in the United States. I don't know who that dude is. It's amazing how many aircraft, you see all these planes here, how many aircraft are in the air all at one time. We're not seeing any major issues in the Gulf of Mexico either. So the U.S. all the way up the East Coast, shipping seems to be moving normally. Stock prices right now, the stock market's been kind of going up and down. It's doing this little porpoising thing. Crude oil is $60 as of today, and this is pre-day trading. Gold at $32.89, silver at $33 an ounce, and then Brent crude is 61. Brent always runs a little bit high to West Texas and Oklahoma Intermediate. So that's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining me once again. Do your homework, plan your trips this summer, be safe. I will see you on the next situation report next Monday. You guys take care.